The rain hit the cracked neon sign outside Roxy's diner, turning its red glow into a bleeding shimmer across the wet glass. It was Friday night, the kind of night the streets went quiet but the troublemakers stayed awake. Inside, the diner smelled of old coffee, fries, and cheap perfume. Behind the counter stood a girl no one had seen before. Tall, slender, with chestnut brown hair tied into a neat ponytail and a nervous look that betrayed she was new here. Her name was Lena. She had just moved to this small, forgotten town 2 weeks ago, trying to start fresh after running away from something she never talked about. Her hands trembled slightly as she wiped the counter, stealing glances at the clock, praying for her shift to end soon. But trouble came in before the clock struck 9. The door creaked open with a gust of cold air, and 3 men stumbled in, loud, drunk, and carrying that kind of swagger that instantly made the room shrink. The first one, a tall guy with greasy blonde hair and tattoos running down his neck, slammed his hand on the counter and whistled. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, his words dripping with mockery. "Bring us some coffee, and maybe a smile while you're at it." His 2 buddies chuckled, kicking back into a booth like they owned the place. Lena tried to stay calm, like her manager taught her. Just serve and stay quiet, don't provoke anyone. But the way they looked at her made her stomach twist. "Of course, sir," she said quietly, reaching for the coffee pot. As she poured their cups, one of them reached out suddenly and grabbed her wrist. Lena froze. "We said serve us, didn't we?" he sneered. "Not just coffee, you can serve a little attitude too." The diner went silent. The only other customer, an old man by the window, looked away, pretending not to notice. That's how this town was. Everyone looked away when things got ugly. Lena tried to pull her wrist free, her voice trembling. "Please let go. I'm just trying to do my job." The man laughed, letting go but not before whispering close, "Then do it better, Btch." The insult hit her like a slap. She turned away, biting her lip so hard it nearly bled, forcing herself not to react. Her heart pounded in her ears as she went back behind the counter. She'd been bullied before. Back in high school, back in her old life. And she promised herself she'd never be that helpless girl again. But tonight, she didn't know if she could hold it in. Minutes passed, but the thugs weren't done. They started making noise, banging their cups, shouting rude jokes, whistling at her every move. One of them even tossed a fry at her, laughing when it hit her apron. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" "Too shy." The leader leaned back, his boots on the table. "Come sit with us. We might give you a tip." Lena's hands clenched around the tray she was holding. She wanted to scream, wanted to tell them off, but she was alone. Her manager had left early. The old man was gone, and it was just her, trapped. She took a deep breath and forced a trembling smile. "Please keep your voice down, sir. Other customers might come in." "Other customers?" He barked a laugh. "No one's coming to this dump except us." He stood up suddenly, walking around the counter. "You new here. I can show you around town, real close." He reached for her chin, but she backed away fast, slamming into the coffee maker. The crash startled him, and for a second the smirk faded from his face. Then he grinned wider. "Feisty, I like that." But just then, the bell above the door jingled again. The sound cut through the tension like a blade. Everyone turned. And that's when they walked in. 5 bikers soaked from the rain, leather jackets glistening under the diner lights. Their boots thudded heavily on the linoleum floor. They didn't speak, just scanned the room. The air changed instantly. The thugs froze, their laughter dying mid-breath. The tallest biker, broad-shouldered with a gray beard and cold blue eyes, looked around slowly before his gaze landed on Lena. "You all right, kid?" His voice was low but carried weight, the kind of voice that silenced chaos. Lena hesitated, her throat dry. She didn't want to make a scene. "I'm fine," she whispered. But the biker's eyes flicked toward the men at the booth, and something dark flickered there. "Doesn't look like it." The blonde thug tried to recover his swagger. "Hey, old man." He laughed nervously. "We're just having fun. Don't get involved." The biker didn't move. The rest of his crew took seats quietly, like wolves waiting for a signal. The tension was so thick it was hard to breathe. The leader of the bikers tilted his head. "Fun, huh? Is that what you call harassing a girl who's just trying to earn a living?" The thug's smirk faltered. "You got a problem." The biker stepped closer. "If I did, you wouldn't still be standing." The diner fell silent again. Lena could hear her own heartbeat. One of the bikers, a woman with fiery red hair and scars across her knuckles, stood up and muttered, "Boss, I don't like their faces." The blonde one scoffed, "You gonna cry for her or what?" That was the wrong thing to say. Before anyone could blink, the gray-bearded biker grabbed the man by his collar and slammed him onto the counter so hard the ketchup bottles jumped. His voice was calm, almost terrifyingly calm. "You ever talk to a woman like that again, you'll be chewing through a straw for the rest of your life." His crew stood up behind him, blocking the exit. The other two thugs tried to move, but the red-haired biker stepped in front of them, cracking her knuckles. "Try it," she said, smiling coldly. The blonde thug stammered, "We were just kidding, man." But the biker didn't let go. "You don't joke with fear," he said, and then shoved him away. The man stumbled, crashed into a chair, and crawled toward the door. His friends followed, bumping into each other in their rush to escape. Within seconds, the diner door slammed shut behind them, leaving only the sound of rain and the faint hum of the neon lights. Lena stood frozen, her hands trembling. She didn't even realize she was crying until one of the bikers gently handed her a napkin. "You handled that better than most," the red-haired woman said with a grin. "If it were me, I'd have broken their noses first." Lena let out a shaky laugh. "Thank you, I didn't know what to do." The gray-bearded man nodded. "You don't owe anyone silence. Remember that." He glanced at her name tag, Lena. "You did good, kid. Next time, don't be afraid to stand tall." They sat down quietly, ordering coffee like nothing had happened. The diner felt different now, warmer, safer. Lena refilled their cups, still shaken but grateful. "Are you guys from around here?" she asked softly. The red-haired woman smiled. "We go where people need a little reminder that kindness isn't weakness." As they left, Lena watched them ride off into the rain, the roar of their engines fading into the night. She touched her wrist, the one that Thug had grabbed, and whispered to herself, "Never again." But what Lena didn't know was that those bikers weren't just passers-by. They knew exactly who she was, and they'd come to this town for a reason connected to her past. One she thought she had buried forever.